Hello, hello! I want to talk about my artwork, and that's why I'm showing you my artwork. This is finished, and these here are still in progress. And this is some kind of like a fold-out artwork, and there is something inside, like rolled up fleece blanket pieces. And so this is almost finished. It's not 100% finished yet. I'm gonna have to be careful because it's a little bit moist. This is the back side. So I have to do some touch up on it. And as you can see, it has real thick paint on it. It's indoor decorating acrylic paint, actually, for painting walls. This is the only paint I work with for my artwork because it's a heck of a lot cheaper, and it is also really easy to work with. And I use cotton swabs to paint with. And so after I use the cotton swabs, they drizzle out really quickly. Then I can just lay them on the table and they dry, and I can put it in the trash, in the regular trash, because I don't want to use brushes and wash those brushes, and the toxic material ends up in the septic tank, or also at the other house, ends up in the sewer facility, which then probably these toxins, they leach out and it finds its way into watersheds and into the ocean, and I want to avoid this. And I'm only using this glitter paint here now as my last 2 containers of glitter paint that I have. I will never buy glitter paint again. Never. No matter how pretty these frames are that I make, or different. This is a frame that a styrofoam piece will go inside, and then I will show it when it's finished. This is just how to make frames. It's very nice, but the problem with glitter paint is when it ends up in the ocean, and I learned about this after I had bought the glitter paint. When it ends up in the ocean, it causes really severe damage in the organs of whales and other ocean animals, and that has to be avoided. And that's why I recommend to everyone, never ever use glitter paint for cars or frames or paintings or makeup or anything. No more glitter paint. No more metal, tiny little metal particles. Okay. No matter how finely ground they are, or how granulated, or in which way ever you use it, it is very environmentally hazardous. So I only use these types of paints, that the strong colors. This one I just started. This one is called Pure Love. I just started. As you can see, I use these are all packaging materials that I'm using. This is the packaging material for my tablet, and it is fantastic. And this is packaging material for also for either for this tablet or the other one. And the tablet was embedded in this casing. And so I decided that this would make the this would make a perfect frame if I paint this frame. First I duct taped it because it had some like paper folded on top of each other, and that's not perfect then for painting it, so you have to duct tape everything to make it really smooth and so that there are no openings. On the inside here, this doesn't matter because I'm going to be putting a cut out piece of styrofoam into it, so which I also use from packaging materials. So I will cut, actually I'm going to use two because they're kind of flat. So I'm going to cut out two pieces of flat styrofoam boards. I will cut it in the right size and I will squish it in after I painted it. And then I have a painting with the frame, even a gold frame. So, and I use no wood. I use no wood for anything. I don't wood for toilet paper. I use bamboo and sugarcane toilet paper and paper towels and print paper as well. So I always recommend tree-free solutions for everything. And for artwork, I definitely recommend reusing materials, particularly packaging materials. This was a cardboard box. This is not finished all the way yet, so I'm still working on this. This is my cotton swab container. It's easy to put the cotton swabs in it. I just dump it in. It has just the right size for these cotton swab packages to rip open and just dump in one dump without them falling out and stuff. So very, very convenient. And yeah, when this is finished, then it will be completed artwork, but it will always be in my home. I will not give this one away. This is really awesome. I will always use this for my cotton swabs or for painting other paintings. And I mix my own paint together in old containers. And this is my tea making space here. I use grass clippings to make tea with, and it's very, very good. It doesn't taste good, but it's very, very, very good for you, and full of nutrients, and it's fantastic. I love it. So I got my tea making corner there to get away from the kitchen, and my husband is using the kitchen as well, and the kitchen is never in the shape I want it to be in. So that's why I have my sacred tea making container with dried herbs inside. So, and since I have a long back, I have my computer on the top when I work here upstairs. So, because translating a book right now, translating this book. Anneliese Ude Pestel, Betty, Protocol of a Child Therapy. This is the German version, and I'm translating this into English. There is an English version, or has been an English version on the market. It's no longer in print. I think it was only on the market during the 70s, and then I think it was only printed once and then taken off the market. So if you want to read this book here in translated into English. In the first version of it, of the English translation, made by someone else. That was while I was a child, so I couldn't translate it yet at that time. And you can buy it in an antique bookstore called Betty, Protocol of Child Therapy. This story here is very dear to me, because guess who made this painting? I did when I was 5. And I think this is called The Dancing Death, and you can see a penis in it and an embryo, and it screams child abuse. And so my friend Annalise, when I was 5, she was my therapist, and I saw her for 2 years, twice a week, and she worked out with me a lot of emotional baggage, and without her I think I would not have survived. So this story, the way she wrote it, is that she wrote it brilliantly. I read many of those child therapy books that have been on the market, also like the story Dibs by I think Victoria Exline, or I forgot the name exactly. But anyway, that book is excellent too. But Annalise is so brilliant. She is such a brilliant writer, and it is very, very, very difficult to translate. The reason translating this and creating a second translation is because the story is important. It needs to be on the market. People need to read it, because there's a tremendous message in it. The message is, the main message that's in it, that's also my own personal message, is to never abandon your children, to always be there and feel their needs, and make sure make sure you're cut out to be a mother or a father, and really be there all the time for the children. Okay, never take vacations from your children. And so my story basically highlights what you shouldn't do when you are parents, and so pretty much about everything went wrong during my childhood, and all kinds of horrible pitfalls. And I can't really say that my parents were bad parents. They tried, they did everything they could. They wanted to be very permissive. They wanted to be modern, during the hippie era. They wanted to be progressive, as what they understood as being progressive, was like no longer do old school like my grandfather did. But then I was exposed to my grandfather anyway, and no one really, there wasn't enough guarding in my case, and that was extremely horrible. And all these things, they can be avoided, so that's why I make videos, because I want people to avoid making these horrible mistakes. So the first English translation is very flaky. It has a lot, it hasn't even been edited. It has all kinds of typos in it, and mistakes, and repetitions even, and just and the translation is very poor, and it is very loose translation, and it is not at all paying homage to Annalise in any way. It's that translation was done in a hurry, and I'm not going to blame that person. She didn't know better, so she did what she could at that time, and she was not focused, and it's I'm not blaming her. It's just that's just how it was. You know? I don't know what her emotional circumstances were when she was translating that book, but the book does not really represent the beauty of Annaliese's writing style, and really it doesn't really understand the situation. So when you translate a book from one language into another, you really have to be at home in both realms. You know. If you are not, you cannot translate a book, particularly not a story that is that deep and that emotional and that critical, you know, to understand this story in the right context with the exact details and nuances of it, and that is the art of translating. And I am doing the best job I can with this, and it's extremely exhausting. So that's why I end up on the internet a lot and not do the translating, because it's so exhausting to translate this book. And although I really enjoy doing it, but you know, the old emotions come up, and memories and hurt and lots of tears and reflections, and but also very interesting to look at it from my current knowledge that I have about this entire subject matter. The looking back on it from the knowledge of being 51, that's a lot of years of knowledge, particularly as someone like me who was really ravenously searching and researching and digging and finding out and exploring the world around me and the world inside of myself. So I have come an enormously long path, a fast, far light years from where I started out. You know. I was a child who was completely damaged, completely trampled into um, into a like non-ego, but in a really bad way. You know, in the way of, you know, what Jiddu Krishnamurti refers to being in the state of extreme sorrow, just without any words. And there were no words at all. There was just, there was so much hurt. It was close to death. There were no words. That's why I also didn't learn very well. I was living in a state of PTSD because of the horrors, you know, being left with nannies and being on teenage hippie parties at age 3, and the energy that was there, and I don't have clear memories, just like faded memories of it, but that was not the only thing. Bad things happened there, I know for sure, but also with friends of my parents and my grandfather, and so it all showed itself in form of my artwork when I was a child. I painted a lot of bathroom scenes with tiles and a lot of penises for sure. And for a 4-year-old girl to paint penises, sorry, this is not exactly what should be on the mind of a little girl. Those were expression of pure utter terror. Those were depictions of threat, of death threats. That's how it is for a child. When a child is molested, it is it's just pure death threat. That's what it is. It's to death to the child mind. So it destroys a child. That's what it does, and that's why this should never be taken lightly at all. So I want to go to work again later this afternoon. I want to continue my translation. I'm still in the first third of translating it, and it drags itself on, and I might not be finished in 2 years even, I don't know, in the pace I'm going right now. But I go through incredible phases of depression in between. I still go through tremendous depression, but this cannot be compared to how I used to be in the past, when I was on pharma drugs and when I was completely clueless on how my life could possibly proceed and how I could possibly on this. So yeah, I'm doing my artwork, which is very healing, which is putting me into this space of now, into the moment of what Jiddu Krishnamurti refers to sacredness, and I refer to it as the infinite. So the moment of being in the infinite is when you're only following that movement of joy. I don't know, can't even call it movement, but it's like it's alive. It's why Jonathan Mises said, art must rule the world. Art itself, he's just a servant of art. And he's also, I regard him as a philosopher. He's mainly a modern artist, but I see him as a philosopher. And he paints like I painted when I was a child. So, but that's belly painting, like you paint out of your gut instinct. You paint. So the way I paint today is I paint that what I want to see, not what I've seen, not what has destroyed so much inside of me that I'm repairing right now. So what I'm painting is, I basically paint a paradise. I paint the womb, the safe womb. I paint the time before the horror, or after the horror, beyond horror. I paint safety. I paint peace, protection, non-suffering, joy, like a curious state of never-ending expansion towards making the world a better place. This is what I'm painting, and that's beautiful, and I really enjoy doing this. So anyway, take care. Bye-bye.